it's so wild, Nosana. Every time you say, the government, it shakes me up a bit because it's like I also have to kind of annex this into my own vocabulary because it's also so new to me. As someone that's been working in the space of human rights and activism for a while. So whenever someone refers to me as the government, I'm like, oh shit, that's me now. It's like, it's like you like fighting from the enemy's camp. But anyway, before we go there, I think for me, this is definitely not something that I planned as a career or something that I saw as being work. When I was in Cape Town, and that's where I come from originally, I was at UWC. They had a gender equity unit there. But the first year that I was on campus, I volunteered for this organization, which was the HIV unit. And in essence, they had a art component to the HIV unit as well. And I just ended up there. It was called AIDS Act. So we used to go all over Cape Town, go and teach students, like learners from high schools, through like, say, drama, to like how to, and we used to enact all of these scenarios about like what safe sex means, what it means to be cognizant of your health, your reproductive health, etc. So that was the beginning. And then I found the gender equity unit, and that was just a bunch of queers. It was just the rainbow. It was a tiny, tiny building on campus, and it was the most lively building because of the people that inhabited it there. And for me, I started at the gender equity unit after I'd seen this play in Grahamstown, actually, put on by the gender equity unit. It was called Reclaiming the P Word. And I was like, how does this thing exist in South Africa? And it's from my campus, and I'm not in it. And Reclaiming the P Word was basically like Eve Ensler's Vagina Monologues, but a South African version. So it was very rooted in Black feminism, Black radical feminism. And, there was a lot of talk about the vagina. So, I mean, I got involved in the gender equity unit. I don't know. I think for me, the activism is the innate, like the innate need to make the world a better place, the innate need as an individual to see to a better, inclusive world. I don't think it's all of the things that you do. I think it's the principles that you live by more than anything else. And for me, that is very rooted in, feminism, and in terms of Black consciousness, and in terms of inclusivity and visibility. And those are the principles that I live by. And that's why initially I'd said, this was never a plan for me. But somehow in all of the things and all of the modes that I've moved in, these things do find expression anyway. So it's almost to say as if my soul, leaps from my chest, and it manifests in these jobs that I'm able to exercise the internal ideals in a practical manner outside, and I think that's what it is to me. I don't think I never planned to be at Parliament, but one of my biggest dreams, given that I've worked at Parliament and I've seen how the mechanisms work there, is that we have an LGBTIQA plus portfolio committee. We need to have that portfolio committee to then have oversight on all government departments. I think that's where the power lies, because then you can engage actively so in health and say, what are the needs of LGBTI people? Besides HIV testing, for instance, stockouts of medication for trans people, ensuring that there's no infant genital mutilation of intersex individuals, all of those things, reproductive health products for lesbians and queer women. So I think in each government department, we need to have it needs to be a directive way of programming. And so where I am now in provincial government is kind of the start of that. And I'm hoping that it creates a standard for the rest of the country, that every province has a unit that deals specifically with LGBTI issues.